a founder. I mean, you've also trying to create a big niche for yourself. You are present across 11 states. You have your own 16 own stores. So what is your take? What are those critical elements that are required to create a very strong, sustainable startup?
Um, so, first of all, thank you for having me here. I'd actually like to answer your previous question first and then get on to
Sure,
this
sure. Please
question.
go ahead.
So basically, I'm the founder of a brand called Elementary, which is into home, kitchenware, serveware, dinnerware, gifting, lifestyle solutions. So Elementary is imbibed with culture with a core promise to make your everyday beautiful. So जैसे मनीष भाई ने पहले पूछा था कि what do you think about the Indian startup ecosystem? I would like to say that I feel that Indian startup ecosystem has been growing and the phase has been quite exciting and encouraging. But the most important thing is one of the bigger reasons why Indian startup ecosystem is growing as per me is हमारा demographic dividend population has been supporting us. So as per the data, 65% of India's population is below the age of 35 years old. So as per me, the next few years are India's golden years.
That's true.
Until 2055, and peak would be somewhere around 2051. The percentage population of India's working population, जिनकी age होती है 18 से 59 years old. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
18 से 59 years old. मुझे लगता है ड्यूरिंग दीज गोल्डन ईयर्स हमारा जो ब्रैकेट है इस एज ग्रुप का वो 58% है जो कि बहुत ज़्यादा होता है. तो मुझे ऐसा लगता है कि व्हेन यू आर इन दिस एज ब्रैकेट योर डिमांड एंड कंजम्पशन फॉर एवरीथिंग ग्रोज. सो देयर इज़ अपॉर्चुनिटी फॉर एवरीथिंग. सो क्या होता है इकोनॉमी में पैसा फ्लो होता है एंड दैट्स द टाइम व्हेन स्टार्टअप्स इमर्ज एंड अभी वही हो रहा है. And I'm sure as everyone knows कि Shark Tank India की जो popularity है, that has made entrepreneurship like the topic of the hour. Everyone's talking about it, whether it's schools, institutions. So I think ये बहुत encouraging times है India के लिए. And मैं तो जब मेरी journey start कर रहा था, I am a data analyst. I have done data analysis from UCL. मैं data पढ़ सकता हूँ, मुझे data समझ आता है.
So from being a data analyst, you founded our own company. It's
Yeah.
quite interesting.
So my father is the largest handicraft exporter from India and वो last 30-32 years से H&M home, Zara home, Ralph Lauren home, जो भी home decor products होते हैं, furniture होते हैं, वो ये सब करते थे 30 साल से.
Okay.
कर रहे हैं. तो तब मैंने realize किया कि इंडिया में काफ़ी पोटेंशियल है. लाइक लेजिट इंडिया सोनी की चिड़िया इफ वी आर एबल टू टैप इट करेक्टली एंड दैट्स हाउ एलिमेंट्री वाज बोर्न एंड द आइडिया वाज बोर्न. नाउ मनीष भाई, गेटिंग ऑन टू योर नेक्स्ट क्वेश्चन विच सेड कि व्हाट आर द क्रिटिकल एलिमेंट्स फॉर द स्टार्टअप इकोसिस्टम.
Yes.
आई फील इंडिया ग्रो कर रहा है बट स्टिल वी नीड टू हैव अ रोबस्ट startup system wherein hand holding of startups can be done, mentorship and guidance can be provided, there is a transparent platform जहाँ पे learn and share हो सकता है. क्योंकि आजकल इंडिया में भी काफ़ी ऐसे मी टू ब्रांड्स होते हैं जो सिमिलर प्रोडक्ट सप्लाई कर रहे हैं बट रादर देन लर्निंग फ्रॉम ईच अदर दे आर एट टाइम्स कम्पीटिंग विथ ईच अदर.
True.
सो उनकी प्रोसेस थोड़ी स्लो हो जाती है. सो आई फील ऐसा स्टार्टअप रोबस्ट इकोसिस्टम अगर इंडिया में होगा एंड गवर्नमेंट इनिशिएटिव्स लाइक स्टार्टअप इंडिया प्रोग्राम आर एक्चुअली हेल्पिंग एक्सेलरेट द ग्रोथ. सो आई थिंक दीज आर सम ऑफ द critical elements जो
Sure. I think
Indian startup ecosystem
that's true. Okay, my next question is, I'll set the context. See, while in my previous profile, I was a banker who was working with ICICI Bank. So there was this person, I mean, he still is, Mr. K.V. Kamath. You know, so my next question to you is, Tushar. Mr. K.V. Kamath, who was the erstwhile chairman of ICICI Bank, he used to often say, even when ICICI Bank was at its peak, he used to say that we are still creating a strong foundation, building में बाकी है. You know, we are still yet to create a structure. We are working on the foundational pillars. So since you've been working at a global level with a lot of companies, with a lot of VC funds, with a lot of other multinationals, so what do you think are some of those critical foundational pillars which are required from a long-term perspective? Because foundational pillars for a conventional organization is very different but from a startup perspective, what are those important 3, 4, 5 pillars which need to be there, which can help sustain a startup from a long-term perspective?
Well, the first thing, it's a very good question. The first thing is that designations don't matter. I mean, many people, when they form a team, they form founders, co-founders, they start deciding amongst themselves who will be the CEO. Actually, if you don't decide the CEO for the first 2 years, after 2 years, everybody will know who's the guy who has done the best job and who brings the team together and who leads the company.
True.
Secondly, when startup is there, there is a lot of a fish market culture because the team responsibilities are not very well defined. So in that thing, if you forget the fact that you have to create a culture which wants to take on the market, then you have to always be very conscious of your actions. And in your actions, I have seen many startup founders, they resort to shortcuts. But you have to be on the ethical side, whether it is with any stakeholder. If you want to, suppose you got your revenue from a line of business which is not your original line of business, but you are not disclosing it to the investor, it is unethical. If
True.
tomorrow the investor finds it out, then naturally he will definitely flag it.
So I would say compliance is a very important angle.
Compliance is very
Ethics,
important
compliance,
because
and
it
the
builds
ability
a
to
culture.
execution will have focus. I mean, rather than strategizing and planning all the time, more of an execution-centric. That's a very strong pillar.
Yeah, and as they say, culture eats strategy for breakfast. So
Yeah,
you
very
have
true.
to be very mindful of that.
Rahul, any different view, any counter view, or would you like to? What's your take on this?
Um, yeah, I mean, the first thing that comes into my mind for the new age startups, if I have to start from today, I guess that the business model in terms of scalability, both with respect to when you're trying to raise funds or you're trying to acquire bigger market, between the two, any one or both. I find these new age entrepreneurs are highly dependent on the funding. There is a very little or limited focus on productivity, efficiency,
Exactly.
processes.
I was coming to that in my next question, but I'm glad you pointed it out. Yeah, I think let's take this.
Okay, so we are well connected in the panel. And hence, what happens is over the period of time, you'd find lots of these startups getting busted. But there's a major flip side to it. I've always, always believe in it that when one or two startups fail in a particular category, it impacts the other 50% or more notional number, but it impacts the others with respect to their growth.
That's true.
Because the market sentiments goes negative.
It has a
about
rub-off
that
effect
category.
on
Yeah.
the overall ecosystem.
So hence, it's very important for the new age entrepreneurs to know that each one of them has a skill. They must focus on their strengths, bring people where they are not good, and give them authority and an opportunity, to go and build that as an organization. And that fundamentally will bring funding, that fundamentally will bring better people and more clients.
Because you spoke about funding. I mean, I strongly, there's a term which I use normally, where I call it the ventilator approach. Imagine I'm in ICU, okay? I have a ventilator on my nose, so I am surviving basis this artificial oxygen, right? Till the time this oxygen is coming externally, I am alive. The moment you take off the ventilator, I am finished off. This is exactly what is happening with some of the startups.
Yeah.
Till that time, there is funding coming from the VC system from a global level. The startup surviving. The moment you take off the funding, they collapse.
Exactly.
So,
Yeah, please.
yeah. So how far do you think is right? Because the entire focus today is, most startups today, they're playing the valuation game. मुझे valuation करना है. They're not bothered much about the business model, the unit economics, gross margins, net margins. They're not talking about that. The focus is on valuation. I mean, since you both have been working at a global level, I mean, even Aunkita and Ayush, since you both are founders, so how far do you think is right? I mean, does this ventilator approach help?
Oh,
Or
sure.
yeah.
Oh my God. This is a. Oh my God. I met up with this gentleman in Noida. At the end of the meeting, I'm the one who paid the coffee bill. He called me for the meeting. I said, I can't take coffee bill from you. This guy comes up and says that his revenue is 3.5 lakhs a year. His valuation is $500 million. And he proved it to me. He proved it on the document. Yet in the next 6 years, I'm going to be 500 million. Today he is making 3 lakhs a year.
3 lakhs INR.
Yeah,
Rupees,
3 lakh
not dollars.
rupees. A person who makes 3 lakh rupees is sitting down here and saying my company's valuation is 3,000 crores in rupees. These are things that one should not do, you know. There is a very reasonable premise when you're thinking of building organization. There has to be a reasonable premise even when you look at how much do you want to raise and whether do you really want to raise. For example, we don't want to raise me as an organization. My company has had the opportunity of raising money maybe about a year and a half back, you know. But I don't have to raise the money. Why? Because my customer foots the bill. I'm very happy. Every month I make money. I'm debt free. Every month I'm able to pay salaries on time. Every month I have a growth. I'm doing something or the new. We're putting up a new experience center in Noida, which is India's first metaverse experience center. It's all bootstrapped, all self-funded. I don't need funding from anybody. But when I need funding, there has to be a reasoning. Reason cannot be because I want to hire 300 people. The problem is with new age, you know, they want new age entrepreneurs, they want everything tomorrow, you know.
Very, very true. Very true.
We have worked hard to be here, hence we understand the value of money.
So my next question to you, Ankita, is again an offshoot of the same question. You've been a startup, right? And you've been doing work at a mass scale. Is your startup funded?
No.
No. Did you never have the
We-
temptation to go in for funding?
No, we haven't. We don't have any investors till today.
Okay, so it's a totally bootstrapped.
Yes.
Is it out of choice or is it?
No, it's by choice, yes.
Very nice. I think
Because one of the things that when he was saying that the guy he met and in the coffee shop, like one of the things I really believe that is very important for any founders before even they go and pitch themselves to any other investors, like creating their own sustainable ecosystem, right? So we have done everything on social media. So our whole company is funded by customers, which we got from social media. So we created that online presence, we created that like branding. So now if we decide, we decide to go like, let's say for getting investors and all, we have proof. We literally are doing it for the last 4 or 5 years. They can just literally go to our social media and see, like, we have been very transparent about it. Like, hey, what's our revenue? What are we doing? What are we actually building? So they can literally go and see, like, okay, yeah, this is legitimate.
So I think one of the biggest challenges, what I feel, I've been a part of the ecosystem for the last 7, 8 years. One of the biggest challenges which I see today is trying to maintain a balance between profitability and growth.
Yeah.
You know, for growth, startups require funding. For profitability, you require a very, very conservative mindset, more of a strong business model. So, are you able in your startup? Are you able to maintain that? Are you able to maintain a balance between profitability and growth?
So ideally, sir, यही होना चाहिए, and इसी के
नहीं
fundamental.
होना चाहिए, which is the ideal scenario. But are you able to do that?
Sir, honestly, this year we'll start making profits after 4 years of existence, because my father on the very first day he told me that वो time था pre-COVID का जब valuations का game start हो रहा था कि whatever everyone talks about, at the end of the day घर पे अगर 2 पैसे ही आ रहे हैं but तुम्हारा business EBITDA positive होना चाहिए. And I think now the question that is being asked about the valuation correction makes a lot of sense, because अब cash burn करके you can't survive in the long run. Now people are talking about unit economics, the basic fundamentals of the business, how strong are the basic foundation of a particular business, which I think for me makes a lot of sense, because मैं बड़ा ही एक मारवाड़ी mentality में हुआ हूँ. And मुझे लगता है, I think that is the name of the game. Now suddenly the focus has shifted from top line to the bottom line. अब आप देखोगे कि EBITDA multiples भी ज़्यादा है revenue multiples से, जो एक टाइम पे हो गया था कि revenue multiples कितने हैं और उसके basis पे valuations decide हो रही थी. So मैं यही करना चाहता हूँ and मैं यही कर रहा हूँ. Though very honestly my revenue last year and अभी वाले year में same है, but profitability has increased by 170%.
So now what you're looking at is looking at profitable growth.
Yes,
Instead
absolutely.
of focusing only on growth,
Yes.
which most startups look at today,
Yes.
and instead of looking at only profitability, the
Yes.
erstwhile organization, the biggies like Ambani's and Tata's and L&T's of the world, they were not a startup. It's a very conventional era. They were talking about profitability. They were profitable
Absolutely,
growth. I think now in the last 1 or 2 years, ever since this concept of funding winter has come up, liquidity crisis has come up, because of the US rates going up. Now, even the Indian startup ecosystem, they have started focusing on profitable growth.
Yes.
The focus now is from valuation to value proposition.
Absolutely,
Right?
sir.
People have started talking about gross margins, net margins, controlled cash burn. आपका कितना runway है? If you let's say if you raise $1 million today, वो $1 million कब तक आप sustain कर पाओगे? So which is a very positive sign which is happening today. Having said that, so this is one concern. What are the other challenges being faced by the Indian startup ecosystem? And what the government should, what kind of steps should the government take to extend more support to the startup ecosystem?
I think the startups, they need basically three things. If you try to just shorten it, one is the capital. Second is network for getting business and for even getting more investors. And third is the management know-how. So basically these three things are needed. The point is that the ease at which capital is available in Western countries, like people outside, there are restaurants outside Harvard Business School where people cut, checks there and then. And here in a tier 2 city, founder says, I wish I can get 5 lakh rupees. And then he struggles for 1 year. He goes to but the platforms are there. India, more than 1,000 accelerators are there today
Yes.
who will help you out at very cheap rates, and they'll help you out with management know-how, with capital, and with the contacts for getting you business. Like I've personally seen that, if I mentored a company and I was able to get them business through my contacts by giving my guarantee to the company.
In fact, you're totally bang on in terms of this point. In fact, this is exactly what me and what our company does. So what we do is we do investment. We raise funds for startups. We help them in terms of formalizing their business strategy, in terms of business models, revenue models, what kind of processes, operations are supposed to be there, whether it's a B2B or B2C. Then we also help them in terms of using our contacts, providing support infrastructure. So there is this very strong myth that once you get funded, your life's made. But वो गलत है.
That is absolutely
Because once you
wrong.
get funded, your life actually starts because you have handed over the remote control to somebody else, right? So getting funded is not the only point. The full-fledged support which is required externally.
Absolutely.
So any other support which the Indian government needs to provide to the startup ecosystem? Maybe Ankita and Ayush, since you've been startup founders.
So one thing I feel is that हमारे पास global market knowledge अभी थोड़े startups के पास कम होता है. Of course, there is access to global market knowledge, but are people really tapping into it? As in, if our startups can find newer markets globally, I think our growth can be can expedite a lot. So I think मुझे लगता है कि वो एक चीज़ है, and क्योंकि आप गवर्नमेंट के सपोर्ट की बात कर रहे थे, मैं एक चीज़ बोलना चाहूँगा. ये जैसे जो सारे गवर्नमेंट इनिशिएटिव्स होते हैं ना, there should definitely be some incentives for the startups. And if the startups are able to do that, I think they should be incentivized. And आजकल तो काफ़ी institutions, organizations, entrepreneurship पढ़ा रही हैं, and entrepreneurship is the need of the hour. So I think these institutions and schools should be promoted a bit more. So access to easy funding. These are some of the ways to,
So
do it
Ankita,
as
what are the
per me.
opportunities in front of you? So next 5 years, where do you think the startup ecosystem, Indian startup system will be? And what are the opportunities in front of us which we can encash?
Oh wow, that's like a that's a great question because I believe, especially with the rise of AI and the new technology, I believe it's like the next 5 years, not just India, like throughout the whole world, we are gonna see a huge changes, growth, innovation, and adaptability. Like AI, blockchain is like people are gonna get more innovative, more creative, and I believe that it's going to be a great like time to live and see that changes and the things are coming in front of us.
Yeah, Tushar, please.
I just want to add something
yeah.
most of these foreign universities, which have such huge campuses, if you look at from where they earn, they hold patents. So, they have a thriving research ecosystem, and the professors are also incentivized to work towards research,
Exactly.
towards genuine research. And they create intellectual property from that, and they earn from that. They have their own endowments also. But in India, I think there is a bit of rigidity when it comes to giving freedom to government universities to on the commercial side. So unless that part we need to sort out, like bring it out from socialism to a bit of capitalism, that part is still.
I mean, that's a totally different debate from socialism to capitalism. But I think you've hit the nail, very, very, very rightly. This is the impetus, the focus of the Indian government towards proper research across sectors is, I think, is the need of the hour. And probably the last question is, next couple of years, what is the flavor in terms of the domain sectors? Which sectors are going to be the talk of the town from an investor perspective and startup perspective?
Okay. So fast moving next 5 years, every single person sitting in the room, all of you have some involvement of artificial intelligence in your lives, which means 24/7 there will be somebody, something that would be tracking your behavior, your buying patterns, your way of life, and many more things. So the organizations that will adapt to artificial intelligence in their day-to-day product engineering, either with respect to the a D2C or a B2C brand or a B2B business, but those are the kind of industries which will see significant growth, and they will be having huge opportunities for